Welcome to Read Your Comics. Today I'm looking at Wolverine number 88. Thanks for joining me today. I'm going to be shamelessly trying to get some engagement via the YouTube algorithm thanks to the Wolverine Deadpool movie and this facsimile edition that just happened to come out at just the right time. Amazing how that works. But before I dive into today's book, I just want to say thanks to all the viewers' support. Every like, comment, and subscription is appreciated. If you're enjoying positive comic content, please consider hitting thumbs up. Comments are always encouraged, and if you haven't already, why not subscribe so you never miss another video? I created this channel to entertain, inform, maybe even inspire you to read some comics. If you think that's a good message and other fans need it in their feeds, then your likes, shares, and subs tell the YouTube algorithm to put it in front of them. That's enough of that. Let's get into this book. I'm quite thankful to the marketing team at Marvel for putting this facsimile edition out at just the right time for me to cover it on this channel. I had no plans to do this book. I don't own the original copy of this book anymore. I did get it when it came out, and I'll be honest, I kind of forgot everything that happened in it, because when I just reread it, I was like, none of this rings any bells. But I was definitely getting Wolverine through the Bone Claw era, like well into the hundreds. I was just never a big Deadpool fan, so I guess this one just didn't really resonate with me the way it probably did for other people at the time. I like Adam Kubert a lot. I think this era of his work, he was starting to come out of a lot of the Jim Lee clone and Mark Silvestri clone time and really show what he is capable of, you know, as his own self. I would say this probably came out, I didn't look it up, but issue 75 was the aftermath of the adamantium being ripped out. That came out in 93. This is about a year later, so, you know, this came out in 94, maybe even like early 95. So at this point, we're talking about a winding down of the speculator boom, but Wolverine still going strong. There are so many copies of this out there. It's kind of overpriced because of this cover, which is awesome. I love the flat colors. I love the way the blue and the red contrast with each other. And anytime I see this, like, just, you know, two-tone flat color kind of thing, it's not black and white, but it definitely makes me think of Frank Miller's influence via Sin City at about this same time period. So awesome cover. It's probably the main reason this original copy of this does go for, you know, pretty good amount, more than I'm willing to pay anyway, to replace it. So anyway, I'm glad that they did come out with the facsimile. I've got all kinds of issues with Marvel facsimiles, and I will say I rarely ever buy one of a book this modern. Most of the facsimiles I'll purchase are Silver Age or Bronze Age books, but like I said, I'm gonna hop on that YouTube algorithm. I know the Wolverine Deadpool movie is bringing people to YouTube to look up stuff on this book, and that's why I'm calling this one shameless. Let's jump into it. Cartoonist Kayfabe did this one about a year ago, and they did a great breakdown of the swipes in this book. I'm not going to spend any time really on that. I may point one out here and there, but they did such a good job. There's no point in me digging out the books and just repeating their video. What they didn't do is talk about the story of this book at all. You know, they were very focused on just the art and the swipes, and it's a great video. I'll link it if I remember and go watch it. But they didn't talk about what's happening in the world of Wolverine at this time. What brings these two characters together and the fight and everything about it. This is definitely an Adam Kubert page. You can tell by the angle and everything. This is the kind of work you expect from him. I don't know what happened in the previous issue before. Like I said, most of this stuff is a blur to me. I was buying the X-Men stuff, and I would read it, and I guess just over time, it's just left my memory. So why is Wolverine's shirt being all torn up right here, right? Like, he says he's coming to check on a character named Kane. I remember Kane. I remember what he looks like. I don't really remember much about him. He was apparently part of the Weapon X program. They were, you know, kind of playing in that quite a bit. That was when it was still called Weapon X before they officially changed it to being Weapon 10. And he's coming to check on Kane. And he runs into Deadpool. And this opening page, this cracks me up. This is definitely Adam Kubert too. Just everything about this is hilarious. You've got Deadpool in this Spider-Man pose. When he hits the ground, how is he going to land? He's so close to the bottom of the ground. Is he just going to land straight on his butt? You've got Wolverine in this like crouched pose. I can tell how he's going to get up, but it's so contorted. It's funny. You do get the bone claws, and something about Adam doing the claws has always cracked me up, especially from this area. I don't think he does it as much anymore. Adam Kubert has returned to Wolverine over the past, gosh, I guess he's been on and off of it since about 2019. And he doesn't do it this bad, this egregious as much anymore. These claws are much longer than his forearm. Where do they go when they go in? But you can see that they're bone claw, right? And the bone claw era, I think, is really defined by how scraggly they will draw the claws. Sometimes, and you'll see it in this issue as we go along, they're just drawing regular Wolverine claws, and it's up to the colorist to, instead of making them look white or shiny, to make them look brown. So, but you can tell on this one, he puts enough like texture on them to make them actually look like claws. Crazy opening thing, and you got, it's Deadpool, folks. So Deadpool is a wisecracker. He is not a fourth wall breaker. He is not self-narrating. He is not doing a lot of the things that would come to define Deadpool a few years later in the comics, much less in how people view him in the movies today. So what we got here is Adam Kubert is doing a few pages, and Fabio Laguna, who I don't really know anything about. I don't remember him at all, other than, like I said, the kayfabe video points out a lot of his swiping. But what I find interesting as we go through this is, where does the change happen? And how much of it did, Kubert maybe lay out before Laguna just completely took over? The other things I want to point out, this is a nice apartment for Kane and his, I guess his love interest, Vanessa, who I don't really remember either. And that's what Deadpool's here for that. And I don't know what's going on with that story. So I felt very lost at the beginning of this. But what you do get in these first couple of pages is a pretty good throwdown of the two characters. This still looks like Kubert very much to me. They're kind of arguing here about why Deadpool's even there, and there's some debate about their healing factors and how well they're working with each other. I mean, this is an awesome shot right here of him like ripping through. I like this one, the blood like flaring off as he whips his head around real quick. So some great action on these couple of pages. Tough calf muscle right there, right? Oh, I wanted to point out something too. What's going on right here? Is that purposeful? Is that fabric? What's going on? Anyway, so the kayfabe guys are pretty convinced that at this point, from this page on, you aren't getting Kubert. And this page, I don't know, it's kind of a Kubert layout, but they found the swipe for this one, the perfect swipe for this pose. This one's around a lot too. And there's some good bone claw. And, they were laughing about it, about the swiping and stuff, but who knows how this guy came on and how quickly he had to like fill in on this issue. So it's kind of funny. Again, this is like a key issue, and you've got this fill-in artist that's just using swipes of different panels from different books to put this together probably as quickly as he can. And he's capable. He's a capable artist. And I don't have a problem with swipes, really. Sometimes they're necessary. And also there's only so many poses you can put characters in at times that you kind of have to. Like, I think it's Greg Land. I see so many videos about people pointing out Greg Land and how he doesn't just swipe from like magazines and other artists, he swipes from himself. But you know what? Almost every artist swipes from themselves to some degree. Any cartoonist that works with any kind of speed like this, it's almost a necessity. If they find a good way to show a guy punching a guy in the jaw, they're going to repeat that. They're going to get good at it. They're going to repeat it over and over again. They try to be creative as they can, but like sometimes you just got to. You can only draw a startled face for so many times, right? So while I'm not saying that completely to defend somebody like Greg Land or even this Laguna, I do think it's okay to use as in your toolbox, right? So initially when I looked at this page, we've got Kane, and I don't know what he's doing. They're doing a play. You've got this girl, her name is Vanessa. I don't know exactly what her powers are. She's kind of bluish, whitish. I don't really know what her deal is. I don't know. And is this the Vanessa from the movies? Is that his girlfriend's name in the movie is Vanessa? Is this the same character? I don't think so, because last I recall, she was not a mutant. But it's been a while since I've seen the second Deadpool, so I don't know. Anyway, this is a long page to establish that they're in some like theater company. And I'll be honest, this feels like a Kubert layout. Even if it's not Kubert doing all the fine details, it very much feels like a layout he would do. And so did that other page. So did this page. This feels like a Kubert layout. So that's why I'm thinking there must have been a little bit of a transition between Kubert had some pages kind of roughed, and then Laguna came in to like finish them out. Wolverine took quite a beating from Deadpool here because his healing factor still is slow from where the adamantium got ripped out. And they even mention it in the box right here. And I'm glad they don't spend too much time talking about that. But it does kind of give you a good frame of reference when this is taking place in Wolverine's lore. Kind of funny here. He's getting up and he can't get up. He's using his claws to like leverage himself up the wall. And he smashes his face into this picture on the wall. So Kane and Vanessa have a nice little life going here. If we go back to even that first splash page, they've got a nice apartment with like a pinball machine and a jukebox that's, I don't know if that's just like on the jukebox or whatever. They've got a nice picture where they're in a theater company. I mean, they obviously are living here and very lived in, not just laying low and trying to assimilate. So Wolverine takes a cab, and to cover up his wounds and stuff while his healing factor is kicking in, he puts this robe on, this purple robe. And there's some funny dialogue about the way he's dressed. And he's like, you want to go to the hospital or the theater house? And he's like, the theater house, and step on it. So kind of implying that like only weirdos and freaks are going to the theater house. Now this is starting to feel less like Kubert. Every page, now we're getting into where it's less and less like Kubert. So Deadpool had gone to the theater house first, and now they're going to have a scuffle. And it's still not clear. It's like Deadpool says Vanessa is his girl, but he's also like trying to kill her. It's not making a ton of sense to me. And I think what bugged me about Deadpool when I really look at this, and it makes sense, he looks so much like Image characters, and at this point I was so over Image and felt burned by the Image guys that I think I was having like residual bias towards the characters they created, like Deadpool. Because I mean, this looks like more like the way it's like pointed looks more like something in an Image book than what I think of as Deadpool having like kind of rounded. You can't see it there. See how his mask is kind of like rounded there? It's rounded. But here it's more like, whoop, to the point. So, good chance that's swiped right from a Image book of some sort. And then she gets involved. They point out, Kayfabe points out this is JLet from Wildcats, one double page splash. And it's so funny. And even I think when I'd forgotten about the video until I started like looking through this. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh yeah, this is that swipe book. And I thought it was probably a Psylocke or something, but it was JLet from Wildcats 1. But again, pointy looking mask design. So either this has to be at this point full on Laguna. Now Wolverine makes it to the theater. He's asking the guy to stop, and he's not stopping. And they're just fighting. So at this point, there's not a whole lot of story going on. We've got to fight. I mean, it's a fun one-off issue. Really, it is. If you just want like a Wolverine Deadpool clash. That's all this is. And you get that. You get that out of this book. It is a shame that Kubert couldn't have done the whole thing. And I think Laguna starts to get sloppier and sloppier as it goes on. That's why I think Kubert must have fallen behind or something, and really when you look at his run, he would do about 3 issues and take an issue off, 3 issues, take an issue off, something like that. And unfortunately, this must have just hit at a time when he was kind of falling behind. Is this where he makes the... No, not yet. All right, Wolverine gets out of the cab. He comes in. I mean, there's some well-drawn panels here. That is kind of... That compared to that, you could tell it's like he's getting this, or he's either just doing that one out of his head and swiping this, or he's swiping two different things, and they don't mash well at all. This is an interesting little choreography here, though. I like the flip and sticking the swords in the ground to do like an acrobatic punch. So this is where I'm confused as to what his relationship with her is, that he's actually trying to kill her. So it's not super clear, but he's throwing one sword towards Kane and one sword towards her. And I guess Deadpool has bullseye ability to throw two swords. Now, here's the goofy part about this whole thing, because it's going to come back in the story in just a second. He's essentially trying to show that Kane isn't right for her by saying he's going to protect himself. He's throwing one at Kane and one at her. They're in like opposite directions. It's not like, you know, they're standing next to each other and there's a sword coming this way at both of them, right? The swords are going this way. How is Kane? He's given the option. He can stop the one at his head or stop the other one. To me, dodge this one and go after that one. And you've avoided the whole scenario, the options there. It's ridiculous. Well drawn Wolverine. It is a swipe though, but it's rendered pretty well. It is. Some silliness. Oh yeah. I don't know if it's just because Deadpool's in this issue, or maybe this is how silly Wolverine was at the time and I just forgot. Wolverine jumps out. Where is it? Yeah. The cab can't stop or something for some reason, and Wolverine knocks the door off, like cuts it off with his bone claws, and then he like surfs on the door of the cab down the hill. I mean, that's just ridiculous. That doesn't even look like a car door. It's too thin. And he's like, these kids go skateboarding. What is it? How hard can it be to skateboard? Little kids do it. And then he slides in. That's why he's on this cab door. He busts in somehow in time, still on the door, and stops the one from hitting Vanessa. This is what I love about facsimiles or old ads like this. This American Entertainment, I remember getting some Image and early Valiant stuff that was hard to find in my area, and I ordered some from them. Maybe twice, but it was expensive at the time. So Wolverine's able to smack the sword away. I don't think this is great in communicating. This is probably because this is a swipe, and probably it's just not laid out great because of the things he was taken from. The sword handle, the perspective looks wrong. That's what I was saying. I think he just got sloppier as he went along. But again, I'm totally not faulting him if he was just brought in out of the blue, like, hey, we need to make this deadline and we need you in here quick doing something, right? And the internet wasn't around. I'm sure people noticed it and pointed it out, but we didn't have a way to spread it and make it go, viral within the comic community, to make 50 videos on how awful this guy was for swiping other people's work all the time. And I don't think he must not have been in comics for too long anyway. This was, like I said, at the beginning of the video, this was towards the end of the speculator boom, so the money was probably drying up, and he probably just went on to do other things. This is terrible, though. The proportion of his arm right there looks swollen. This is a clear Wolverine pickup. At least Deadpool's mask is back to being rounded again. So Wolverine comes in, he saves Vanessa, Kane saves himself, but then yells, Vanessa! And that's Wolverine's arm getting stuck with the sword. Because he got clean, he saved himself, right? And then they're going to take on Deadpool, but he just says, just one more, grenade, and he throws a grenade, mostly so he can escape. He throws a grenade, doesn't hurt any of them, apparently, and he makes his escape. And then Wolverine says he crashes with him for a night. Why is he on a motorcycle all of a sudden? He had to take a cab a minute ago, but now he's on a motorcycle. And she mentions how Kane saved himself. And that's where I said it was dumb the way it was laid out, because I mean, it's kind of a dumb scenario anyway, because there was no way he could have saved her. Well, if he went to save her, he would have saved himself first in the process on his way to saving her. Either way, even in the scenario where I said if the swords were both coming like this, he would have just stepped to the side and stopped that one and dodged, and in the process dodged the other one. It was dumb. That was dumb. Okay? But Wolverine makes a point that, like, he had to save himself so that then he could even attempt to save you. Because if he didn't save himself, he would have died. And then what's to stop Deadpool from doing whatever to you? So, Wolverine's basically saying, like, don't make a big deal out of it. He had to save himself. And, I mean, that's kind of true, right? And then that's it. And that's our one-off Wolverine versus Deadpool issue. Apparently it was the highlight of the month of the X-Facts. And that's it. So I hope you enjoyed more of a story breakdown of this one. And until next time, read your comics.